Hi, I'm Molly at Park Walsh and I'm a licensed insolvency practitioner. So I'm going to be looking at the signs of insolvency within this video. So how to tell when your company is in financial distress. So it can be a very, very difficult time for directors, and there's always the hope that things are going to improve, or they're going to win the next big contract and things will just get better. And time goes on and costs increase, turnover generally declines, things aren't getting better, and there's that worry. And it's sort of directors analyse their business usually at night worried, and I completely understand that. And we need to just be mindful of the signs to look out for so that you can get the help and a strategy in place. So with a limited company, there are two types of a basis for it being insolvent. So one is balance sheet insolvency, and that's where your assets are smaller than your liabilities, people you owe money to. And then there's cash flow insolvency, and that's where you cannot pay your creditors as and when they fall due. So that's the legal term of it, which is in the Insolvency Act of 1986. But what does that mean practically? So it can be that you're struggling to pay your creditors. It could be as simple as that when the wages are becoming due, say on the 28th and it's the 26th, 27th, 7th, and you're panicking and wondering how are you going to afford to pay them, there's not enough money in the bank account. Or it could be that you're getting more reminders than you've ever got before from creditors that they're constantly pursuing you and chasing you for payment, or they might have even changed their terms because you might have this historic late payment history with them. So they're now saying, you've got to pay upon delivery, or reducing the credit terms from 90 days to 14 days. So they're changing the way that they work with you to protect themselves. And then there's HMRC. And this is quite common that you might build up arrears with them. And so you might stop filing your returns because, as someone said to me, it's only ever going to be bad news. Once you filed your return, that's another lump sum that you've got to find to pay across to HMRC, and you just can't do it. And also, it's very difficult when you're worried about the company to be proactive and to be energetic, because obviously, as we know, that when you're under stress, you're lethargic, you don't want to look at things head in the sand. So it is quite difficult, and that's why returns can be missed. But even if they are filed, you might not be able to pay them. So those are sort of the signs that you're looking for, and when you started to worry, you can't do it. It can affect sort of stakeholders, people who are invested in your business. So it could be the employees. Maybe you don't want to hire anyone else because you can't afford the wages. So you're asking a lot of them. Maybe the company, is still bringing in work, and you really do need an extra pair of hands, but you just can't afford it. So you're asking the staff to do more and more within their role. Maybe you're not paying overtime or giving them bonuses because you just can't afford to pay them. And when people leave, maybe you're not replacing them. And employees sometimes don't know what the pressures the director are under, and they don't understand it, and it can lead to hostility. It may also be that you have other shareholders who aren't necessarily involved in the business. Maybe they're not directors, maybe they're just shareholders, and they're wondering why the dividends are low or non-existent, and they're putting pressure on you. As I've said, HMRC or other creditors, they may be changing the terms in which they deal with the company, and they're putting pressure on the company as well. And then there's also the way the director deals with the limited company as well. It may be that they start to take more money out of the company themselves, and I would advise against this and seek advice from someone like myself before you do that, because you can get yourself in trouble. But I understand that you're worried that the company's going to get worse, it's going to go into liquidation, it might be wound up by someone, and therefore you start to, say, repay the money that you put in the company at the beginning, or you may repay yourself the wages that you've not paid yourself to help with cash flow. These things are difficult, but it's a sign that you know what's coming. And so all of these things, you really need to then take advice, because you have to remember this is a limited company, and a limited company is, the whole purpose of it is to make a profit for the shareholders. It's not a charity. So it's got to be making money for you as a director shareholder. And, you've got to be able to live, and, you need to be able to take money out of it. If it's not working, we need to do something, and we need to do it sooner rather than later. So the minute you see the first signs of cash flow insolvency, not paying creditors changing their payment terms, HMRC, maybe you've missed filing returns, you're not on track of everything, you know that you're laying awake at night worrying about how you're going to pay the wages. These are all the signs. You need to get someone in touch with someone like myself, sooner the better, because if you come to me at the early stages, there are so many things we can do. Informal debt arrangements, time to pay arrangements with HMRC, formal repayment plan, which is a company voluntary arrangement, administration, that's changing the business, obtaining a moratorium, which gives you a protective bubble against legal action against creditors, and business organisation, reorganisation, so maybe closing down departments or maybe making certain people redundant. There's lots and lots of things we can do at the early stages. What we can't, there's not that many options we can do later down the line. So if HMRC have a winding up petition against the company, for example, our options are then limited. So it's best to get advice early on, as soon as you start to notice the signs. Okay, so I think that's helped, and please take away one piece of information, which is to get in touch. Okay, thank you very much.